Okay, listen, I know what I said last week about Harry and Melinda's drama and how I wasn't sold on Harry's point of view, but I also wasn't sold on what Melinda was saying either. However, this week, during Perfect Match, let's just say I'm willing to admit some fault in my judgment. Let's get into my recap. What's going on, you guys? James here with a real recap and review of the final week of season 2 of The Perfect Match on Netflix. Guys, Perfect Matches, it's just trash reality TV, you know what I mean, but it is entertaining, and the past 2 weeks of episodes have been really wild. If you missed those recaps and reviews, they're in the description below or floating around at the top of the screen. But let me tell y'all something. This week, it might have been a little slow out of the gate, but when we get to the end, this season's finale was really dramatic. Now, before we get into everything, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about, well, a lot of reality TV and movies. So if you like all that content, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned this summer. It's going to be a busy movie season. My gosh, there's a lot of Netflix content to talk about as well. And let me tell y'all something. If this is any indication moving forward for reality TV for Netflix, maybe they're just going to really just say, you know what, we're going to shoot for the moon and give you all the dramatic behind the scenes stuff that contestants think they might have not caught on camera. Yeah, I'll say that because, like always, we start with the spoiler-free recap and my spoiler-filled recap, and the time codes are below in case you want to jump around. But I don't want to get into too many spoilers right now because I just want to give you some spoiler-free thoughts. So let's get started. Week 3 is just one episode, right? A singular episode, episode 10, and it's a full-length movie. It's an hour and 46 minutes long. That is insane in terms of runtime for a reality TV show episode. Now, I'm talking about for Netflix. On ABC, as you know, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette have very long finales. But this was almost like 2 episodes squished into one. And honestly, I was a little meh on the episode until the very end with all of the drama. There were some very forgettable moments and some moments that made me think they're just playing this up for the final edit. But I will say they did a good job at shocking me by the end. Seriously, my jaw was on the ground. I was actually a little upset. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It just felt dumb. But we'll definitely get into that in just a little bit. But on a technical level, what do I have to say about the music this season? It was bad. There were so many terrible songs this season, and there were some bad ones in this finale. But what really surprised me, because for the most part this season the editing wasn't terrible, the editing was pretty bad in this finale. It felt very choppy. It did feel like they cut out a lot of what the contestants had to say, especially in the final group conversation that we're used to seeing in Perfect Match. And it didn't add to the suspense too much. I did feel like there were some predictable moments and things that you just knew were so unreal or unlikely in terms of the results that it didn't matter, right? I just didn't need to pay attention to that. Of course, I saw the whole thing, but for you, if you're watching this and maybe some things just have you zoned out, that's a fault of the suspense not being kept at a high. So yeah, the editing was pretty terrible during this finale. Thankfully, though, it didn't detract from some of the more crazy moments, because this was arguably a better finale than last season's, if not only for the Harry and Melinda drama, which I so badly want to get into, you guys. So, did I love the finale for season 2? No. But did I think it was very entertaining for those who have been a part of the journey this season? Yes. So it is worth a watch. You're going to probably watch it with your friends, and you're going to come away probably just as shocked as I was, to be honest with you. But guys, hey, if you're at this point and you haven't watched the finale for season 2 of Perfect Match, I don't want to go any further without saying, please subscribe to the channel, save this to your watch later list, and come back and let me know once you've watched the spoiler recap section your thoughts on the winners for season 2 of The Perfect Match, because I gotta know, you guys, what do you think of the winners and what do you think of the losers? That still so shocking to me. But yes, guys, alrighty, well, it's time. Spoilers ahead for season 2's finale of The Perfect Match. So let's get started. We begin on a continuation from episode 9's conversation with Harry and Jessica is still questioning Harry. She just doesn't trust this man. And do we blame her? No. However, she says, I don't trust you, yet she always is like, oh, but he has my heart. He's my sweetie pie. Girl, he is trying to play you. Oh my gosh. But Jess does take a bold step forward and says, you know what, after much deliberation, I'm not going to match with you. And of course, Harry is blown away. Surprisingly didn't blow chunks like he was last week, but the man is definitely beside himself. However, he's oddly content with knowing the result. And this leads me to believe, is there something you're not telling us, Harry? In his testimonial interview, Harry does admit that he's at fault to some degree, and he did act out of turn. But again, what happened between Harry and Melinda? And we'll talk about that in a little bit towards the end of the video. But Jess says in her testimonial interview, I thought I was going to ride off into the sunset with Harry. You should have flung him into the sun. That's all I gotta say. So, who gets sent home? Of course, it's Jess and Harry. Jess isn't gone for long though. I'll just say that. So our new matches are Christine and Kaz, Brian and Elise, Izzy and Micah, Chris and Tolu, and Stefan and Alara. Izzy and Micah, I feel bad a bit for Izzy because Micah's just venting to Izzy this entire time, and they're cutting back and forth between Christine and Kaz and Izzy and Micah. And Micah's like, oh, woe is me, woe is me. Like, girl, you also didn't really have a good time in that relationship. You both are just not good for each other. We learned that very soon. So there's 4 days left, and that means we got to get into the final compatibility challenge. And this one is very interesting, and I won't blame you if you're a little confused because the way Nick Lachey explains it is not so clear. But let me see if I can simplify it for you guys. So we got 5 questions for the guys and 5 questions for the women of the house. And with each correct answer, they gain a plank to place across their rope bridge that they both then have to cross together and ring a bell at the end simultaneously to then become the winner of the final compatibility challenge. And you're probably thinking, wow, that doesn't sound hard to understand. But if you watch the episode, you know it was just so much more complex than it had any business being. And of course, with the questions asked, each partner had to make sure that they were in sync and answer correctly together. There were some out-of-pocket responses, but do you want to know the craziest response? It was when they asked, what is your partner's body count? And if you don't know what body count is, you should ask your uncle or your aunt, because I'm not going to explain it. However, I will say Izzy's response was 100 plus people. And I'm thinking, Izzy, remember when you didn't really give us all the info about your credit score, or at least your partner didn't get all the info? Are we maybe stretching the truth again in this instance? Because I just don't believe that. So eventually we get all of the planks placed onto the bridge, and then our winners end up being Chris and Tolu again. I think this is, the second time they found themselves in the boardroom, so good for them. They seem to be a very good strategic couple when it comes to the games. Them and Stefan and Alara are the 2 strongest in that regard. So now it's time to go on a date with Chris and Tolu. But it's a date that I would probably never take my girlfriend on, because, why? They went to a beer spa. First of all, I don't like beer. Second of all, a beer spa, I don't want to bathe in beer. What are the scientific, benefits is the word I'm looking for when it comes to a beer spa? Probably little to no benefits. So eventually we get a quick conversation with both of them, and Tolu says, I'm at a bit of an impasse with you, Chris, because of the amount of people you slept with and the answer you gave during the compatibility challenge. However, Tolu is understanding in this moment and is willing to not necessarily overlook Chris's past, but understand that he's better now than he was. So both Chris and Tolu seem like they're getting stronger and stronger, and if I had to make any sort of judgment at this point, I'd say Stefan and Alara number 1, and number 2 is Chris and Tolu. So I don't think the producers agreed with me, or the contestants I should say, by the end of this, but we'll see what happens. So we go back to the house, and I only have a couple of notes here. One of them is, what happened to Micah's eye? No, but seriously, I hope she's okay, because that didn't look pretty. Did she slip and fall? Possibly, because that house looks like it is a slip and fall hazard waiting to happen. Maybe there's just a lot of alcohol was involved and stumbled a bit. But what happened? I can't imagine what happened to her eye there. But she talks about Kaz a bit and says, oh, I still got feelings for Kaz. And I'm thinking, girl, you only have yourself to blame for the heartache then. Seriously, I got heartburn watching that. And then Kaz and Christine have a conversation where you can tell there's a bit of tension between both of them because Christine brings up, hey, you remember who you kissed during the Flip Cup game? And it was Holly, while Christine kissed Nigel, and both of them are, you know, they seem like they've hit a little bit of a roadblock, and this is definitely a sign of things to come with both of them. But never the matter, we're going to go right into the boardroom with Chris and Tolu. And when Tolu walks in, man, I laugh because not Tolu saying her outfit is giving Big Bird energy. Listen, she said it, but if she likes it, we love it. Okay, fine. Because she said it. So Jessica is back on the board among a couple other contestants here, and I think that is literally laughable. Jessica's back on the board after having just walked out. It's like Perfect Match Season 2 just wants to keep Jessica around for the buzz. Why is she back again on the board? And at this point in the episode, I felt like the final boardroom was a lose-lose situation because there's no way any incoming contestants will match and win. Right? Right? Well, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Jessica ends up being brought in after all to date Izzy, which is weird. And then Nigel's brought in to date Christine, which is really messy. But let's begin with Jessica and Izzy's date, which wasn't really a date and felt more like a hang, like a chill sesh, like we just pals, we're friends. Jessica goes on to tell Izzy, I still have feelings for Harry. And listen, at this point, Izzy, bro, just leave the house. Seriously, this man is getting all of the vent sessions from now Jessica and Micah. He just can't win here. Izzy and Jessica end up doing these aerial yoga acrobatics exercises. That's their date. And Izzy is sweating profusely right into Jessica's mouth. That's gross. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's gross. And that's about the end of their date. So now let's get into Christine and Nigel's date together, and we do learn some more about both of them and their background together. Apparently prior to Perfect Match Season 2, Christine met Nigel in New York, and they were in a group setting, so it felt more like, hey, how are you? I'm good. Wow, you look pretty. Oh, you look handsome too. So like there seemed like they were just at a pass, right? It didn't really materialize into anything substantial. However, this date, I guess, opens them up to that possibility of being closer together. Christine says she still wants to even get to know other people and doesn't sound sold on Kaz at all, which, who can blame her? There's nothing there. So as we get introduced to their date activity, we see that it is a sound bath, and then there's a skull on the table. Oh, no, thank you. You know what we say here on the channel, y'all. I rebuke that in whose name? In Jesus' name. No. See, I don't mess with that. None of that. Literally, that came up on the screen and I was like, just praying. But yeah, they eventually kiss, and Christine said, Nigel won me over with our kiss. And I'm starting to think, Christine, you talking about Kaz being flippy floppy like Christine, you going back and forth too. But do I think that they're better fit for each other? Yeah, I do. So now we go back to the house and we have a conversation between Micah and Kaz. Kaz is, of course, very worried at this point. If you didn't know better, you would think he's walking on lava because he is nervous for the rest of his time here at the house. He thinks he's going home simply for the fact that Christine got picked to go on a date with Nigel, and he's thinking, oh man, I better go back to my ex. And Kaz says, I miss you, Micah, and I feel like I made a mistake. Oh, and don't forget this part. Kaz said that he's also all in with Micah. Bro, if you're all in with somebody, you don't leave after a hurdle that you have to overcome together. You are all in, right? Kaz is just talking. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. And Micah is probably no better for this because she continues to put herself in the same situation. So you can't complain if you put yourself in the same situation over and over again. But yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think Kaz is just scared of going home at this point. But you can kind of see what's coming, can't you? So we have a final mixer moment, you guys. And of course, like in every other mixer this season, we have to have a very awkward and cringy game for everyone. And this one's bad. Yeah, this one is terrible. It's everyone showcasing their talent. And some of their talents are, okay, like where else would you showcase this? For Alara, in her case, I'm not even going to go there. But, you know, there was one where Tolu put her arms behind her back, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I can't do that. I tore my rotator cuff watching you do that, Tolu. So, just awkward. Please no more of these games in Season 3. And then Harry apparently reveals that he sent Jessica a lengthy apology letter, or it was Jessica that revealed Harry sent it to her. I think that was the proper order of things. And I'm like, Harry's doing a lot of apologizing for someone who said nothing happened according to Melinda. I don't know. And of course, during this mixer moment, we got to go back to Micah. And Micah tells Christine, hey, Kaz, yeah, he's back with me. She might as well just said, yeah, listen, your man is rounding the block with me yet again. And I don't know. At this point, Christine is upset. And do we blame her? Probably not. So Kaz and Christine end up having a conversation, and Kaz finally says what I'm sure he wanted to say all along to Christine, like, I'm back with my ex, and hey, you know what? I don't feel like we're compatible anymore. And it was in this moment that Christine put the boxing gloves on and said, okay, bet. We're going to have another little conversation at the end of this finale. And boy, did she ever have a comment to make. So, of course, as things are starting to pick up in momentum, we hear Alara say, hey, let's play another game. Please, no. But it just happens anyway. And I guess it's some sort of like truth or dare again. And it's just to basically play up the fact that Christine's moved on. So Nigel and Christine end up kissing yet again. But now there is a very interesting moment in this part of the game where Elise comes out of nowhere and says, hey, sounds like we should play spin the bottle, because, you know, she's a little bit of a snake. So Steven went up and immediately grabbed an empty bottle, and Alara is thinking, excuse me, pause, what? Alara's upset with Steven because she believes you were so eager to go and grab that bottle, I think you want to kiss someone else. But as Alara's, you know, kind of yelling and drilling into Steven, she looks like she's about to have a wardrobe malfunction, and I'm like, hello, guys, did none of the ladies of the house think to maybe say, Alara, just stop, we can't have this happen on national TV, but no one did. I guess some of the girls are not girls. And then before we leave this moment, Elise says, I'm very happy with Brighton, and all the while I'm thinking, are you? Like, are you really? I'm actually kind of surprised that Brian is so willing to be comfortable enough and vulnerable enough with Elise, because I think we did see his true side at the beginning of the season, but now that he's back at the end, he's thinking, oh man, maybe I do got to play this a little bit cleaner and close to the chest because I want to stay until the very end. Which, honestly, it worked. So we get to Steven and Alara as they both walk away from the table and they have a conversation between themselves. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, they both sound very drunk. Yeah, they were favoring the tequila, okay? And it does seem like, yes, both Alara and Steven have a little tiff right here, but Alara's still into Steven. She goes even as far as to say that I'm really into you. I've never felt this way before. And Steven says, I only want you. And then Steven says, I just want to work this out with you, Alara, even when we leave here. And Alara's like, oh, me too. And then they both just kiss. And I'm like, was there any real doubt here? Come on. At this point, they're the strongest couple in the house, right? So, of course, we have new matches before the final day in the house. And they are Brighton and Elise, Steven and Alara, Izzy and Jessica, Tolu and Chris, Nigel and Christine, and then Micah and Kaz. Surprise, surprise. What an absolute mess, right? I know. But Steven and Alara, not a mess, because it was really nice to see Steven setting up an outdoor tent sort of night for them. And inside the tent was AC. The man knows it's important. And it is. It really is. So it's time for the final day in the house. And Izzy and Jessica said, we're going to start the shenanigans off early because we've both mutually agreed to unmatch. Now, Jessica says, I'm not in a good headspace to continue this further with you, Izzy. And Izzy, I'm just feeling bad because at this point he's just like, yeah, I'm with you, Jessica. Yeah, I'm okay. It's like, bruh, you shouldn't have come back. And then Micah's back on her bull by talking to Tolu, saying she's unsure about Kaz. So you take Kaz back, and you're still unsure about him. Girl, can we make up our minds, okay? Is logic in the room with us? Clearly not. So who was sent home? Of course, Izzy and Jessica. So now it's time for the very final dates, you guys, with our remaining matches, and we're going to begin with Tolu and Chris. And they go horseback riding, which is pretty cool, and Tolu says, listen, I just don't want this to be our final date. And Chris is basically all in on Tolu as well, so I really do hope that they work, you know what I mean? I would love that for them, as long as it's healthy. But I gotta ask, during all these sweet moments, was anyone else distracted by the rock and roll background track that was playing? Who decided that was a good idea? None of the other dates got that treatment, but this date got like, you know, slash shredding in the background, and I'm like, bro, can we stop? So then we cut to Brian and Elise's date, and before that they have establishing shots as usual. I just don't know why they set up a shot with a spider crawling along a rock wall. Why? Is it to signify that Elise is like a spider? I don't know. I mean, more so like a snake, but hey, who am I to say these things? Brian tells Elise basically everything she wants to hear in this moment and says, hey, listen, you would be my perfect match even outside of this house. And I'm thinking, is Brian to be believed here? And then we go to the toxic couple of Kaz and Micah, and they're on a catamaran. They're on a little boat date, and Micah tells Kaz basically everything he didn't want to hear. Instead of saying things like, I'm glad we're back together, let's work things out, hey, we have some obstacles to overcome, but we'll do it together, Micah says, hold on, Kaz, I'm finding it hard to be secure with you. Oh my gosh, Micah, make up your mind. And honestly, the rest of this conversation is drier than the chicken I used to eat during my middle school lunches, but eventually we get to a moment that made me roll my eyes. Micah and Kaz are talking about Kaz coming to America for the first time and being with Micah, and Micah says, Kaz, when you come to America, I want to make you your very first pizza roll. What in the white nonsense is going on? And then we get to Alara and Steven's date, and I don't really know what they were doing, but they were with fishies, and that was nice. I genuinely, I think it was just a conversation, not really much of an activity that they did. But Steven, we learned, is a DJ. Maybe I missed that earlier, but that sounds like a lifestyle that maybe Alara's not 100% okay with, but she does love Steven, so maybe she's willing to overlook it or work through it with him. And Alara goes as far as to say, listen, I want you to meet my mom, Steven, which is kind of nice. So, I don't know. After this, I gotta look and see if they're still together. And the last date in this moment is Christine and Nigel's date, and they're using each other's bodies to paint a picture. And they both honestly have a strong physical connection with one another. They both think each other's beautiful, and, well, I think that's about it. At least from the way I could read this, guys, it seems like that's all they really have on the surface is a physical connection. Like, they like how each other looks, but do they have time to find out if they can take this experience further? Not really, because it's the final day. So eventually nighttime comes, and it's time for one final group conversation with past contestants and our current matches. And this is where the editing gets a bit choppy. While it's the most dramatic moment of the episode because of the source material, the editing is like, you can tell you're cutting out contestants' answers. Maybe they weren't, worthy of being on TV, or they were too long, but it felt kind of weird. Anyone else get a sense like that? So Nick comes out in, well, a blazer and shorts. I don't understand that combo too much for guys, but at least Tolu's outfit ate. Yeah, it looked good. And Christine and everybody, they're starting to talk about, how, okay, we have the best chance, XYZ, but Christine says that her and Nigel have a chance to win. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, you probably don't, right? And then Nick gets a little petty and announces Justin didn't show up, and the camera cuts to Elise. And I'm sure Elise is like, I just don't care. But it is interesting Justin didn't show up. So they go to each match and they have them talk, and then the contestants previously talk to them too, and there's a lot of drama that spews, so they're spilling some tea here. Let's begin with Chris and Tolu. And Chris said, yo, Tolu and I, we fell in love. And I'm thinking, wow, they're a stronger match than I thought. But then Dominique jumps in and says, hold on here. I'm going to engineer some drama. I have an issue with you, Chris. You're a liar, and all you do is sow seeds of deception. And Chris's response to that is literally this. Okay. Bro, that was hilarious to me, and I know everyone else laughed too. And as they go around the room, clearly Dominique has a lot to say at the beginning because she says, hey, you know what, Elise? I'm going to pick on you next. I think you're just attracted to egotistical men. And is Dominique wrong in that regard? Not too much, because Elise was attracted, of course, in match with Harry first, and then Brighton now. And I'm like, Justin didn't seem too egotistical, but Brighton and Harry, yeah, I could see it. And then we shift to Kaz and Christine, and this is where it gets a little spicy. Kaz said, hey, Christine, well, all you told me is that you wanted an alpha male, so I'm surprised that you went with the opposite of that with Nigel. And the man comes off sounding bitter. Honestly, it is a petty comment, but Christine said, ho ho ho, I'm ready to clap back. I got you. Christine said, Kaz, you are the biggest scammer this season, and that the only person you'd make a perfect match with is the enemy himself. But replace enemy with, Alright, I might as well just say it. She said, you'd only make a perfect match with the devil himself. And I'm like, ouch. Oh my gosh, girl. Why would you even speak that over someone? But even then, oh my gosh. So Micah's got to jump in and says, well, you know what? Kaz is my man and I'm sticking beside him. And they both said that they're each other's perfect match, which I don't believe because of what Kaz follows up with shortly afterwards. Kaz seems like he got a little tongue-tied and says, well, look, I feel like I've 100% found my perfect match because I came in here just looking for a best friend. And then he says, oops. Now, if he didn't say oops and instead said, I'm in here looking for a best friend and future lifelong partner, okay, maybe. But the man just said oops and that's it. Bruh, did you really just slip up? It's like a Freudian slip, right? And it's at this moment where I felt Xanthi wasn't as nice as she kind of came off to be earlier. She threw some shots at Steven and Alara. And she was the only one, at least in the final edit, that had something negative to say about Steven and Alara. And she says, well, I hope you guys enjoy it while it lasts. Like, girl, don't be mad because you didn't last until the end on the show this season. Why you gotta sound like that? And then we get into a moment where Harry clears the air. So he begins by saying, hey, listen, I acted out of turn. But he wasn't saying what the producers, I guess, wanted him to say. So the producers said, okay, Harry, we got a little extra footage to show the people at home. So the producers pull out the footage between Melinda and Harry at the infamous Boys' Day. And let's just say I'm going to eat crow because I didn't think what Melinda said was factual. I'm like, okay, she's really taking this to another level. But it happened. So 5 days earlier, of course, they're at the Boys' Day, and Melinda's sitting on Harry's lap, and they're getting flirtatious, and Harry says that he would get Melinda pregnant, and I quote, I'm trying to get Melinda pregnant. Oh, and if that's not bad enough, there's more, okay? That is crazy to me. Harry sneaks away with Melinda, remember, carrying her, according to him, over the rock so she could go use the restroom, but instead, they found their lips intertwined. So they sneak away, and then we hear Melinda say, there's no cameras, and then Harry and Melinda kiss. Oh, wait, but that's not all. It gets worse. And you're wondering, what the heck? How? I'll tell you how. Harry says, plain as day, that he wants to sleep with Melinda, but I'm not using the word that he used. You liar, Harry. You disgusting behavior. And then we see Harry asking the producers if they got footage of him and Melinda kissing and says, oh, I'm still mic'd up. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. No, you trash. And I will say, Melinda's also in the wrong in a way, knowing that Harry's with Jess. I just think that Harry is the most in the wrong here because he should have never put himself in that situation after having told Jess, I'm a different man, I'm a changed man. Bro, if you're a changed man, then I'm riding a unicorn into work tomorrow. Come on, bro, get out of here. So eventually we break away from the drama because Nick Lachey's gotta let people know it's time to vote for the perfect match, season 2. They get into the boardroom, the contestants are voting, they can't vote for themselves. However, this was a very tight race. And our winners, by just one vote for season 2 of the perfect match, are, get ready for it, Christine and Nigel. What? You're gonna tell me that Steven and Alara didn't win this season of The Perfect Match. For what reason? Not only were they probably the least problematic couple, they were also the most strategically sound, and they did the best in the competitions alongside Chris and Tolu. So it leads me to believe that friends were just voting for their friends. And while I understand that could be true, Christine and Nigel had the least amount of time together as a couple in the final week. So what are we doing here? Like, really? It almost proves that this show is just... the results are totally flawed. Christine and Nigel get sent on an all expenses paid vacation to Thailand, and what do? They record all of their content vertically and not horizontally, knowing that they would probably use these clips on national broadcast television. Don't you love it? So, yeah guys, this is a ridiculous result. I'm sorry. I can't tell you enough how shocked I was. My jaw was on the ground. I was laying down and my jaw was on the ground, so it tumbled. You know, like, get out of here. It should have been Steven and Alara, and if not them, Chris and Tolu. I'm sorry, but I think Chris made too many enemies. Tolu didn't, but Chris did. So, alrighty, y'all. Well, that's not all. We got one more thing to talk about in the final credits, because I hope you didn't exit out in frustration, because there's a moment in the final credits where we do see a look into a certain couple's life after the show. So 1 month later, Harry and Jessica are dating again, apparently. Not boyfriend and girlfriend, but dating. And you think, oh boy, here we go again. And you know what? At this point, I just don't feel bad for Jessica anymore. I don't really believe her that she's looking for her knight in shining armor. I don't believe she knows what she wants, because she keeps putting herself in situations with men like Harry. And Harry is someone who's gonna, time and time again, prove that he is not changed. And she loves those men. But a very funny edit happens, and after Harry says, I don't know when this is going to air, it's probably going to air and we'll be married by then, cut, record scratch, and it says 1 week later, they broke up. I'm not laughing at the downfall. I'm laughing at the irony of the whole situation. What did you think was going to happen, guys? What did you think? So they're not together, but I am curious about the other matches to round out this final episode of Perfect Match Season 2. As I just hit my microphone. But guys, what a season. What a fun time. 3 weeks in a row I was here on the channel recapping Perfect Match, and you were here to support all the way through. So thank you. And hey, again, if you haven't already, hit the big red button below. Subscribe to the channel, because you know your boy's covering Love is Blind when it comes out. I'm guessing the next season's going to air some point this year, if not early next year, but I'm here, guys, but also for movie reviews and for some TV show reviews outside of just reality TV. But yeah, it was so fun. Let me know in the comments below who your favorite match was this season. It could have been a match that was broken up, but I need to hear it from you guys. My favorite match is probably still Steven and Alara, and then Chris and Tolu. Alrighty, y'all. Well, that's all I got. I'm gonna go relax and live a drama-free life. Thank you, Jesus. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.